Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Myler and today I'm building this 1907 tiny houseboat. This wasn't necessarily advertised as a tiny home, but it's a little houseboat, so it very easily became a tiny home. And so I just changed the lock to that just because we can do that now. But anyway, so this house is from American Homes and Gardens. It's from a July issue. And there's actually this huge article within the magazine talking about houseboats because they're basically becoming this new kind of trendy thing for people to do during the summertime. And that was because people were kind of getting into vacationing. I mean, people had been vacationing, but it was for people who didn't want to stay in like a bougie hotel or something like that, or a nice resort. They wanted a more inexpensive and kind of casual way of vacationing. And some of them, a lot of them really, were more intended for larger families. So there would be a lot of bedrooms and there'd be like an upper deck and stuff like that. But I wanted to do a tiny house. So this one was the smallest one that they included in the magazine because it was intended for just one person. So this one was called the Hostess, and it was created for Charles H. Maurer, I think was his name. Let me double check on that. I can't find it. His name is Charles, something like that. But anyways, he lived in this house by himself and like full time, I think. And basically, just for clarification, these houseboats weren't intended to sail at all. They were just kind of meant to be anchored to a dock and you stay there. I don't exactly know why. Like in the article, they kind of say, this was just becoming a thing for people who like to go sporting and do outdoor things and stuff like that. I just don't get the point of having to have a house on the water, but sure, if you want to do that. But if you wanted this one to sail at all, you would have to get a tugboat to take you, or you would have to get a gas pump put on in order for it to move at all. But that was way more expensive. So just having it anchored to a dock was the easiest way, basically, and the cheapest way to have a houseboat. And speaking of the gas thing, in the article, they talk about if you have a gas-powered houseboat, you're going to need a servant to take care of it. And oh my God, it is the most blatantly racist thing that I feel like I've read in a long time. Because basically they're talking about what's the best kind of ethnicity to be a servant for a houseboat. And it talks about I won't go into it, but it basically it's horribly racist. And it just kind of reminded me, yeah, this is the early 1900s and that was totally okay for people to publish in a national magazine at that time. Just crazy. But as you can see here, there's some benefits of this magazine as well. In this article, they actually took photos of this exact houseboat and the interior of it. So it was kind of considered, it seems like, a bit of a marvel at the time because it was so compact and so efficient for one person to live in, and even had a space for a guest to stay. And people were kind of amazed by it. It talks about how there were these group of admirers who became friends with Charles, the guy who owned this houseboat. And so they decided to make their own boat as well, influenced by his. And they just made it bigger because they wanted it, I think, to be a bit more of a party boat. This one's not intended to be a party boat. This is just for Mr. Maurer to live in. And everything in it, also, I want to mention, I have playtested this one. I know in the past, some of my builds I didn't really playtest before I uploaded to the gallery, but I'm better at that now. So this one is fully playtested. Everything in it works. I will say that top dresser doesn't work, but the bottom one does. So that whole kitchen space is very usable. Where the fridge is was supposed to be a closet, but I put the fridge there because it was just easier that way. You had a bit more space, and it didn't like deviate from the actual floor plan too badly, so I figured it was fine. But yeah, that whole bathroom area works, and that whole bathroom area is just open to the kitchen. That room is called the galley. I don't know much about boats. I'm not really a boat person, but that's all just one room, and I guess it was okay because it's just one person living here. But the sink would actually have been a folding sink, so it would have folded upwards so that you could get onto the toilet, and there wasn't actually a shower in there. But obviously I put one in there because for The Sims, you kind of need that. So that whole area works and everything. It's just not great if you have people over because your Sim's probably going to get like embarrassed and stuff. But if you just have a loner Sim, this is a perfect little house for him or them. Why did I say him? I said him because I have a male Sim in here right now. But for anyone, this is a perfect little houseboat for a loner, basically. And as you can see here, the photos that were included in the magazine show this exact area and how detailed it was, how much like clutter was everywhere. And that's something that I know in all these early 1900s houses, I put so much clutter in them because that's just how people decorated back then. People really did like having a lot of clutter. Even on a tiny, tiny houseboat, people had a lot of clutter. And if you saw the picture of the kitchen earlier, there's so much going on there. Like, I do not know why this man needed like 10 teacups, but he did apparently. I wish we could have put the little teacups in there as well, but the closest thing we have is that shelving unit from Tiny Living, so I just chucked that in there. But yeah, so in this little room here, there's that sort of bed looking thing. They called it a sofa, and there's a whole ton of pillows on top of it. The only pillows that we have in the game are like the chair pillow, so I did end up just putting those over it, and it doesn't look amazing, but it's as close as it could possibly get. You'll see that in a second. But yeah, so also, I mean, this is pretty much the end of me talking about houseboats and me talking about this house. I just wanted to also mention how in 2 weeks I will be going to Hawaii. If you didn't hear in my last video, if you didn't watch that one, I know there's a few new subscribers as well, so I just wanted to mention it again. I will be in Hawaii after next week's video. The next content you will see on here is Hawaii content, and if you don't want to see that, I completely understand, but I will be vlogging it mostly for myself, but also just because, you know, people like to vlog and stuff, so I like vlogging. I watch so many vloggers all the time, so I'm going to have vlogs on here. I'm not exactly sure still if I'm going to do daily or what I'm going to do. Well, I'm going to feel it out when it happens, I think. But just as a warning, that is going to happen. I just want to make it very clear for everyone watching these videos so that they're not thinking I'm turning into a vlogger all of a sudden. That's not what's happening. It's just I'm going on vacation. That's it. I did use quite a few items from the debug menu I wanted to mention, like these things here. The posts, those are from the debug menu. So that's important for all of my builds. You need to have bb.moved objects on before you place them, and it's probably a good idea to also have like all of those show live edit objects, show hidden objects, all of those cheats. It's probably a good idea to have all of those on before you place any of my builds, but especially this one. And if you don't know what those are, it's very easy to Google. Just Google build cheats for Sims 4 and you'll find them. So anyways, here's the house. Here's the screenshots. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for 1908, which is already planned, and which is crazy, and I'm really excited for it. One of you guys sent me it, and you can do that if you want to. That's really cool. Thanks. Bye.